Hello, welcome back. I'm John. Got a tag video for you today. It's the Quick to Judge Challenge, which was created by Ali Rizdal and revived by Jess at Jess Book Girl TV. And I was tagged by Alan at Alan's Reads. And I've been seeing this one around quite a lot lately. The first channel I saw it on was Rana Read Stuff, Deb's channel. And it gave me the idea that for March Mystery Madness, I would do this tag. And that's how I would find a mystery to read. So as I stumble along here with the intro, we'll get to the first question. The first question is, or prompt rather, pick 5 to 10 unread books from your shelves. Okay, I've done that. I'll show them to you. So we have Why Shoot a Butler by Georgette Hare, Ghosts from the Past by Glenn Ebbish, The Daffodil Affair by Michael Ennis, A Murder of Quality by John le Carré, Devil in a Blue Dress by Walter Mosley, The Haunted Lady by Mary Roberts Reinhardt, The Coffin Ship by Peter Tonkin, They Found Him Dead by Georgette Hare, and 2 more. Let's see. Unnatural Causes by P.D. James, and Listening Woman by Tony Hillerman. Okay, so the second prompt is read the first paragraph of every book. Okay, here we go. So I like reading excerpts, so this should be all right. The first one is from Unnatural Causes by P.D. James. The corpse without hands lay in the bottom of a small sailing dinghy, drifting just within sight of the Suffolk coast. It was the body of a middle-aged man, a dapper little cadaver, its shroud a dark pinstriped suit which fitted the narrow body as elegantly in death as it had in life. The handmade shoes still gleamed except for some scruffing of the toe caps. The silk tie was knotted under the prominent Adam's apple. He had dressed with careful orthodoxy for the town, this hapless voyager, not for this lonely sea, nor for this death. So that sounds pretty interesting. My last experience with P.D. James was not that good. I can't remember the name of that book. It was in the Cordelia Gray series. I think there were only 2 books, and the second one is much better than the first one, but I read the second one first and the first one second. The second one is called The Skull Beneath Her Skin, I think. And that was pretty good. The first one was not very good, but that sounded pretty interesting. So the next one is from Devil in a Blue Dress by Walter Mosley. This is an Easy Rawlins mystery. Well, it's sort of a mystery, sort of a cross between a mystery and a hard-boiled kind of thing. Okay. I was surprised to see a white man walk into Joppy's bar. It's not just that he was white, but he wore an off-white linen suit and shirt with a Panama straw hat and bone shoes over flashing white silk socks. His skin was smooth and pale with just a few freckles. One lick of strawberry blonde hair escaped the band of his hat. He stopped in the doorway, filling it with his large frame, and surveyed the room with pale eyes. Not a color I'd ever seen in a man's eyes. When he looked at me, I felt a thrill of fear, but that went away quickly because I was used to white people by 1948. So that sounds pretty good. I really like Walter Mosley's books, and for some reason I've been reading them in reverse order. That's the first one, and I said this when I did a book haul video with that in it. And anyway, my point is, if you haven't seen that movie, you should watch that movie. It's really good. It's got Denzel Washington, Don Cheadle, Tom Sizemore, and I think the guy who played Nero Wolfe in the 90s version or the 80s version. Okay, so the next excerpt is from John le Carré's A Murder of Quality. I'm not exactly sure how much of a murder mystery this is. It's a George Smiley book, so George was always going up against spies. So I'm guessing this is probably a spy novel in the end. Okay, there's the introduction. Here we go. Chapter 1, Black Candles. The greatness of Carn School has been ascribed by common consent to Edward VI, whose educational zeal is ascribed by history to the Duke of Somerset. But Carn prefers the respectability of the monarch to the questionable politics of his advisor, drawing strength from the conviction that great schools, like Tudor kings, were ordained in heaven. So that's okay. I haven't had a really good track record with John le Carré's books. I really liked The Spy Who Came In From the Cold. I thought that was a fantastic book. And I really liked the Tinker Tailor books, even though most of the time I had no idea what was going on. But his other books, they've been kind of hit or miss for me. So the next book is The Daffodil Affair by Michael Ennis. This is a Sir John Appleby mystery from 1942. Not this edition, but... Okay. The room was void and unquickened. It was like a room in a shop window, but larger and emptier, and the man who sat at the desk had never thought to impress himself upon what he entered every day. Comfort there was none, nor discomfort either. Only, did the occupant deign to qualify the pure neutrality of his surroundings, it would surely be austerity that would emerge. The spring sunshine turned bleak and functional as it passed to plate glass the tall, uncurtained windows. So that's pretty good. It has kind of a weird cadence to it, doesn't it? But it was meant to be read and not read aloud, so. And it's from a completely different time and place from our own. So I don't know where that'll rank. Next is the book I just got the other day, Ghosts from the Past by Glenn Ebbish. And this takes place in Vermont. There's a reporter who is tracking down a story in Vermont. And she comes across an even more interesting story. Okay. Marcy had felt that she was being watched. She'd read that some people have a sort of sixth sense that sends a signal when they're being stared at, even when their backs are turned. And that was the way she had felt back at the inn when she dropped off her things and asked the proprietor for directions to the Hayes farm. She had been vaguely aware of someone sitting in the lobby and of a waitress setting tables in the dining room, but Marcy had been so focused on getting the directions straight that she hadn't paid attention to her feelings. Now she wished she had. So that's got some promise in it, I think. Okay, let's see. Let's do a little bit of rearranging. Okay, got to find this one. There are 3 books in this one, so I have to find the first page here. Okay, so this is The Listening Woman by Tony Hillerman. I really like Tony Hillerman's books, and I hope to read all of them. Okay, they take place down in the American Southwest on the, I want to say the Navajo tribal reservation down there. Okay. The southwest wind picked up turbulence around the San Francisco peaks, howled across the emptiness of the Moenkopi Plateau, and made 1,000 strange sounds in windows of the old Hopi villages at Shongopovi and Second Mesa. 200 vacant miles to the north and east, it sandblasted the stone sculptures of Monument Valley Navajo Tribal Park and whistled eastward across the maze of canyons on the Utah-Arizona border. Over the arid immensity of the Nokaido Bench, it filled the blank blue sky with a rushing sound. At the Hogan of Hosteen Tso, at 3:17 p.m., it gusted and eddied, and formed a dust devil, which crossed the wagon track and raced with a swirling roar across Margaret Cigarette's old Dodge pickup truck and past the Tso brush arbor. 3 people under the arbor huddled against the driven dust. So covered his eyes with his hands and leaned forward in his rocking chair as the sand stung his naked shoulders. Anna Atsedy turned her back to the wind and pushed her hands over her hair, because when this business was finished and she got Margaret's cigarette home again, she would meet the new boy from the Short Mountain trading post. And Mrs. Margaret Cigarette, who was also called Blind Eyes and Listening Woman, threw her shawl over the magic odds and ends arrayed on the arbor table. She held down the edges of the shawl. And I wanted to go on, but that is the entire first paragraph. And there's a lot of promise in that. I really like the way that Tony Hillerman writes. So that's a good one. The next book is by Georgette Hare again. This is Why Shoot a Butler? Okay, so what year is this from? 1963. No. This is from 1933. There are a lot of dates in this one. It's been reprinted a lot. So this is from 1933. The signpost was unhelpful. Some faint characteristics on one of its blistered arms informed the seeker after knowledge that Lumsden lay to the west, reached presumably at the end of a dubious-looking lane. The other arm indicated the direction of Piddingly, a place Mr. Amberley had never heard of. However, if Lumsden lay to the west, Upper Nettlefold ought to be found somewhere in the direction of the obscure Piddingly. Mr. Amberley switched off his spot lamp and swung the car around, reflecting savagely that he should have known better than to have trusted his cousin Felicity's enthusiastic but incomplete directions. If he had had the sense to follow the usual road, he would have been at Greythorn by now. As it was, Felicity's short way had already made him late for dinner. So that sounded pretty good. I really like Georgette Hare. I have to admit that I like her books better than I like Agatha Christie's books. And that's kind of a strange thing to say, because I've only read 2 of Georgette Hare's books, and I've read quite a few Agatha Christie books. And I'd like to see if these 2 here continue that trend of my liking Georgette Hare better than Agatha Christie. So the next one is They Found Him Dead, also by Georgette Hare. Okay. This is another long first paragraph. Miss Allison thought that Silas Kane's 60th birthday party was going off rather better than anyone had imagined it would. Such family gatherings, for the Mansells, through long business partnership with Silas, might almost be ranked as relatives, were, in Miss Allison's sage opinion, functions to be attended in a spirit of considerable trepidation. Nor had this one promised well at its inception. To begin with, Silas was at polite variance with old Joseph Mansell. Their disagreement was purely on a matter of business, but although Joseph Mansell, a husband and a father, had existence outside the offices of Kane and Mansell, Silas and his business were one and indivisible. He was not, at the best of times, a man who contributed largely to the gaiety of an evening party. He was invariably civil, in an old-world style that seemed to suit his neat little imperial and the large stock ties he wore, and he would listen as patiently to a discussion on surrealism as to the description of the bird life on the foreign islands which was being imparted to him at the moment by Agatha Mansell. Both subjects bored him, but he inclined his head with an assumption of interest, smiled kindly and coldly, and said, "Indeed," or "Is that so?" at the proper moments. So we're starting out at a party, and we've got a businessman who's all business, and he's got a problem with his business partner. And that's pretty standard for mystery novels, isn't it? Especially of the 30s. Okay, so that sounded pretty good. So next we have The Coffin Ship by Peter Tonkin. This is from, 1989. Takes place on a super tanker that is being hounded by a murderer. Okay. 11 p.m. Gulf local time, July 15th. The very large crude carrier, VLCC Prometheus, lay at anchor off Karg Island, and nothing at all seemed wrong. I'm going to read a little more. She lay deep in the black water, fully laden with 250,000 tons of Gulf light crude, like a massive battery waiting to be connected, charged with enough dormant energy to light New York when released, to light New York or destroy Hiroshima. But all that massive energy lay caged in the 3 cathedral-sized tanks, held still by baffles of steel, stretching like unfinished walls from side to side, from top to bottom of the huge chambers. Its volatile elements, capable of igniting at the merest spark, lay smothered by the inert gases pumped into the ullage, the gap between the surface of the liquid and the roofs of the tanks. So we've got pretty serious scenario there. You've got a murder on board your supercar or your super tanker, and that could go very, very wrong. So that's pretty interesting. I like books about ships and things that happen on ships and the sea. Okay, so the next book is The Haunted Lady by Mary Roberts Rinehart. I want to say that I got this for my very first book haul on this channel. If not my first, then my second. In fact, I think it was my second because my first video was a book haul, and I'm pretty sure this one came in the second book haul. So I've had it for about 6 months. And I've never read a book by Mary Roberts Rinehart. I have 2, and I really need to. Okay, here we go. Hilda Adams was going through her usual routine after coming off a case. She had taken a long bath using plenty of bath salts, shampooed her short, slightly graying hair, examined her feet, and cut her toenails, and was now carefully rubbing hand lotion into her small but capable hands. Okay. Well, that was not exactly fireworks, was it? But take a look at that cover. That's something else. And I'm pretty sure that I bought this book mostly because I was interested in the cover, but I've been interested in Mary Roberts Rinehart for some time. I've heard she writes really good mysteries, or she wrote really good mysteries. This is from 1942, so I doubt that Mary Roberts Rinehart is still with us. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the second prompt. Now, prompt number 3 is to rank the books based on the first paragraphs. Okay. So, I think I'm going to put The Haunted Lady at last place, 10th. Or maybe A Murder of Quality. So these are both 10 and 9. They're about equal to me. Not that I think they're bad, they're just not particularly exciting first paragraphs. So it gets a little bit harder from here on. I think, yes, it's going to get kind of hard here. So let me see. This is The Daffodil Affair by Michael Ennis. I think that's going to be number 8. And The Coffin Ship at number 7. And Unnatural Causes at number 6. So this is where it starts to get really, really difficult. Or, yes. Because any of these would be just fine as far as I'm concerned. I think I'm going to put Ghost from the Past as number 5. They Found Him Dead as number 4. Why Shoot a Butler as number 3. And let me see. Devil in a Blue Dress as number 2. And this could be, could be affected by the fact that I just read an Easy Rollins book. I just finished it a couple of days ago, so but it's really good. His books are really good. I'm going to put Listening Woman as number 1. So Listening Woman goes on my TBR for March Mystery Madness. But to be honest with you, I think all these books in the top 5, probably in the top 7, are on my TBR for March Mystery Madness. And whether or not I get around to them is yet to be seen. I doubt that I will. So I'd love to hear what you thought about the excerpts, which one you thought I should have chosen. And yeah, just let me know. I'd love to hear about it. Love to hear your thoughts. So the last prompt, number 5, is to invite others to do this challenge as well. And I'm going to do that. I didn't write anybody down here because it seems to me like lots and lots of people have been doing this. And I don't want to tag somebody who's already been tagged or who's already done the video. And so I will tag some people down in the description. And okay, so I want to thank everybody involved in this tag. I want to thank Alan at Alan's Reads for tagging me. I want to thank Debs at Rainer Read Stuff for giving me the idea of doing this for March Mystery Madness. I want to thank Jess at Jess Book Girl TV for reviving this tag. And I want to thank Allie Risdell for creating this tag. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.